camera down.
Last year was when I started hearing about these white vans. People were coming up missing.
Okay, you guys are filming?
I've done a lot of stories, but nothing could have prepared me for this. What we're about to show you is extreme and upsetting.
This truck pulled on the side of the highway, and 2 guys inside are watching us. Hi, Mariana. What do you do? What's your job? What the heck is this place? How much money do you... You're the one who explodes the... Why do you think the cartel is in small-town America?
Yeah, that's a big question.
You're never going to eliminate people being people.
Problema?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can only push a people so far before they revolt.
Once you realize what's really going on, it's evil.
They locked you in a room until you had a baby? People are being hurt. Who do you think is winning? You've made over 2 million? It seems that there's very different opposing views of what the future of this country should be.
It's your worst nightmare.
Why isn't our government doing enough to prevent this from happening? How is it allowed to happen? Do you think that the regular American has any idea?
No.
Hello, welcome to the interview where nerds rule the world. My name is Heather Hurt, and today I am with Mariana Van Zeller, who is the host and journalist of Trafficked with Mariana Van Zeller. How are you today?
Very good. I'm Mariana.
Mariana, I'm sorry, Mariana. I'm so sorry. I'm excited to talk to you. I'm just so tired. I just finished this season. It was a lot of fun, and I do want to talk about that final episode with the sharks. Mariana, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Let's start today. Let's start going backwards. Season 4 was the most nominated show for the News and Documentary Emmy Awards with 29 nominations. How are you feeling going from that into season 5?
Oh, it feels great. We had 29 nominations this year. We won 4 Emmys. It's such a great validation of the work that we do. I love sharing that incredible honor with my team, and I feel very privileged to be able to do the work that I do.
And it's been so much fun catching up on the series and as well going into this new season. What are some of the changes you have taken from, or some of the things you've learned in the previous seasons that you brought into season 5?
We covered everything from shark trafficking to cartels, the Cartel USA, cartel presence in the United States, to militias, to illegal racing across the United States and other countries, bride trafficking. I think what never ceases to surprise me is how big these black markets are and how widespread they are. I think most people don't know, but these Black and gray markets actually make up for almost 38% of the global economy. It's what economists call the hidden third. And yet we know so very little about them. And so every time we go out on an adventure, sometimes, a risky adventure because we're covering Black markets, but oftentimes we think we have a sort of preconceived idea of what this is going to look like and how many people are operating in this world or how much money is being made in this world. And I always think we underestimate just how big it is. I mean, even in terms, I'll give you a concrete example, in terms of the bride trafficking, we knew it was happening, but it wasn't until we hit the ground and the border between Vietnam and China that we realized how many women are actually being kidnapped against their will and taken to China to get married again against their will. So I think it sort of never ceases to surprise me just by how the massive amounts of Black trafficking and the impact that it has.
Absolutely. And I did find that interesting with that episode. I do want to talk about how difficult it is for you to get through some of that, because you seem to have some of the most difficult time just getting people to talk to you in that episode. But I do want to just start at the beginning of the season real quick.
Yeah.
Not to give too much away, of course. But you infiltrated a cartel, but it's obviously not your first time where you've talked directly to members of gangs. But could you give us a little bit of detail of what the process is to just really embed yourself in those communities?
Oh, it's hard. It's like you said, it's really the most challenging part of our jobs. I think just in general, being a journalist and trying to uncover the truth is very difficult. If we're talking about people who do everything every single day to hide who they are and what they do, behind closed doors in sort of the darkest, most secretive corners of the world. And we're going there, sort of knocking on their door and trying to convince them to talk to us, to shine a light into their world. It's almost an impossible situation. And I always say that for every, 10 or, even 100 no's, we get one yes. And it takes time. It takes months, sometimes even years to get people to agree to talk to us. And I think people do for three main reasons. I think it's ego. People want to talk. Sometimes their family members don't even know what they do. So we give them a chance behind a mask to sort of, show off and tell us about how good they are and whatnot. I think it's impunity in many parts of the world that we film, including in Mexico and Sinaloa. There's enormous corruption, so they really don't see a downside to speaking to National Geographic, a well-recognized brand like Nat Geo, and particularly, to speak to our team. We've been covering black markets for, now I've been covering black markets for almost 20 years. So a lot of people have already seen the work that I do, and there's trust there. And I think the third most important reason is that people want to be understood. I think it's a very human characteristic. We all share it, right? And what I tell people whenever I meet them is, I am here not to judge you. I'm here with empathy. I'm trying to understand why you do what you do, because I think that is really the only way, the only solution to ending these black markets is to understand why are people motivated to operate in them.
And you brought up something really really amazing there. This can take years. Any documentary in general can take years to do. So when you have a serial show like you have, yeah. How do you go about doing stuff like this? Are y'all picking episodes as y'all finish them over a series of years, or is it you're constantly just going back and forth between episodes trying to complete one while doing another?
Yeah, we usually film 10 episodes a year. So in a space of 10 years, we have to have filmed, which means every episode we spend about 2 to 3 weeks on the road. So if you count that times 10, that means that we spend 20 something weeks traveling. And we have windows, so a window to shoot certain episodes. But at the same time as we're shooting one episode, we have an episode that is in pre-production, another one that's at post-production, editing, scripting. Everything happens sort of all at once. So we're in one way or another at different stages working on 10 episodes at the same time almost.
Wow. That's a lot. So now to go back to the Vietnam episode with the brides, that was it seemed very difficult. You could really see it in your face that, when you were talking to someone, maybe they were giving you false information, and that's just part with your job, not always getting the most honest. But that seemed to be extra difficult for you. Maybe as a woman, what was the most difficult episode overall that you have worked on, and why?
Overall, throughout the seasons, I would say this season that was a hard one, the bride trafficking one. The constraints weren't just about getting access from the traffickers themselves, the bride traffickers themselves, but it was also because we were being watched. So as soon as we had spent months trying to gain access to get journalist visas to go to Vietnam, and finally, once we arrived in the country, immediately we knew that, that we were being watched, that we were assigned a fixer, a government minder. Sorry, we were assigned a government minder who escorted us everywhere, together with a member of law enforcement who was with us as well. And they escorted us and took us everywhere. And they were present in every single interview we did, which makes our job so much harder. So, a lot of the times we interview people with masks and we distort their voices so they can speak freely and not be afraid of law enforcement. In this case, we were traveling with law enforcement with us and with a government official, which made our jobs very, very, very hard. In the end, we were able to sort of do some interviews without the presence of the government, which I fear will get us in trouble with the Vietnamese government once this story comes out. But it's really the only way to operate freely as a journalist in the country. If I was trying to tell the truth and tell the story the way it actually is happening, I knew that we would have to be creative in trying to find ways of skirting, the government officer and try to find ways to film. And then we also worked alongside a local group of undercover journalists who were incredibly brave and got amazing material, undercover footage of some of these places where these women are being kidnapped and trafficked.
With that being said, the stress levels of any of these you see are very, very heavy. You are a journalist, and you've been into many of these places before. You've been on drug raids. You've done these things. But how do you go into these? Because it's going to be a lot of stress on you no matter what. How do you go in, and how do you keep yourself calm throughout these interviews, throughout these dangerous situations?
I think I'm not I'm not a person that suffers from anxiety or stress that often. I usually stay relatively calm, even in, situations where I remember one time in the middle of the night at the hotel I was staying at Vietnam, we'd already started sort of doing reporting that we knew was ruffling feathers. I was asking questions that they didn't appreciate, the government didn't appreciate. And I woke up in the middle of the night and the phone was blinking. And then the next day I was calling one of my colleagues and on the hotel phone, and again it started blinking, and then I was later told that it was that the phone was being tapped and they were listening to me. And at that point, I had already had some of these conversations, and even our cell phones, knowing that our cell phones are being tapped. So there was obviously some anxiety with that, mainly about protecting our sources, making sure that we're not putting people's lives in danger. It's not just about our lives. It's a lot of times the people that are taking the greatest risks are sources of people that agree to talk to us. So that's where I think my anxiety sort of kicks in. Usually, we're very, very fortunate and privileged that we can go back to the safety of our own homes, travel back to the United States safely. In many cases, it is the local journalists that we rely so heavily on. It's what we call the fixers in our profession, that we really rely on for access, for knowledge, for information. And they are the ones that take the biggest risk, because they're the ones who usually have to stay in the country. So every step along the way, we're asking them, even when we're putting the story together, we're showing them the film and asking them, is this safe? Are you okay with us putting this on camera? Is there anything we should change to make sure that we protect you?
Wow. I don't know. I that's amazing. I'm just getting stressed hearing about that. So I kind of want to flip the script for my last big question of the interview. It is Shark Fest with Nat Geo, so we have to talk about you swimming with the sharks. You had race cars, you have all these fun things. It is scary situations, but you've also got to do some really cool things like swim with the sharks. Yeah. So what was your favorite thing that you got to learn or do, or multiple things that you got to do for season 5?
Oh my God. Swimming with the sharks was definitely high up there on the list of most awesome things I did this season. I am actually terrified of big animals, of predators, terrified. I have camped out in the jungles of Thailand where there are wild tigers. I've, spent days and nights in the Amazon with, poisonous snakes and spiders. And yet, and that terrifies me. That is always where I'm, you can give me 10 men with AK-47s, sicarios in Mexico, and I'm totally fine. But you give me one predator, or usually predators more than poisonous creatures. But that like the idea of being eaten alive by a tiger or a shark just scares the shit out of me. And so going into that, it was one of those only situations where I was actually very, very nervous. I had a hard time sleeping the night before. We were driving to the location where we were going to go out on the boat in Florida and go swim with the sharks. And I was genuinely very, very nervous. And but then it was incredible. I mean, as soon as you dive underwater and as soon as you see the shark, I don't know what happens. It's the magic of the ocean. I have no idea what happens, but all my fears disappeared. And there was the first moment where the shark starts swimming towards me, and they explained what I should do. One of the things is put your hand out to make sure that they don't bump into your body, so they will see your hand and sort of want to avoid your hand and swim around you. And then they said I started seeing they were touching the shark as it moved along, just the top of the shark. And I started doing that myself. And like I said, I went from super afraid to just wanting to spend more and more time underwater with the sharks. I didn't go back, but I remember when we were called to end the dive and go up, I thought, oh, this was too short. I wish I could have stayed longer. It was truly magical.
That is absolutely beautiful. So happy. And you do talk about conservation in that episode for a little bit, and it's so wonderful that you do. So thank you so much, Mariana, for your time today. Trafficked with Mariana Van Zeller. Oh, now I'm getting so nervous about your name. I'm so sorry. Season 5 premieres on July 19th on Nat Geo at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the next day on Hulu. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Heather. Thank you for having me.
Nerds rule the world.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world.
Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world. So more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Kuya P, nerds rule the world. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh,
nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds Rule.
Love
it. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Julian.
Yes,
Rock on. I love it. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you. I love Nerds Rule the World.
But yeah, there's a heavy nerd component, man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, nerds rule the world. So
absolutely.
And you're right. Nerds do rule the world.
We're just the best.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Nerds so much.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
do. They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.